to become a health, a financial crisis for a lot of families, and it went to become a relational crisis for a lot of relationships. And I mean, to such an extent that friends at Masimanyane Women's International tell me that things like gender-based violence have gone up while we've been in lockdown in South Africa. People have found themselves with less resources, not going to work, and a whole host of challenges. And it's important for us as the Soul Dive to reinforce and remind you that you do have resources in your soul. You do have resiliences within yourself to be able to surpass such things, to emerge out of such crisis with having overcome it. Survival mode is not a mode that should be maintained for a long time. In as much as the situation that we are in showed up as if it was going to be, just 21 days of lockdown and then we'll get out of it and then it will all be back to normal. It's not going back to normal. But at the same time, what is normal? Every single day, if you think about it, every single day that you and I have lived in this life has presented itself with brand new challenges. There's always something that you did not plan for, you did not ask for, and that asks you tough questions and asks you to step up and act from the best of you. So this is us reminding you that this is possible. Survival mode forces us to see everything in life as a life and death situation. Yes, COVID has killed some people. Yes, more than half the people that have contracted it have recovered, that tested positive for it have recovered. Yes, it is a situation to be taken seriously and for us to take precautions and do things that will safeguard our lives and keep our families safe. But it is not a reason for us to allow ourselves to live perpetually in a state of fight or flight. I'll tell you why. It's because this survival mode will sap all the energy out of us. It saps the energy out. It makes it so that everything becomes a life and death. I didn't get my breakfast this morning. Oh, the sky is falling. We're gonna die. I didn't have the right breakfast. I didn't get my coffee. All the little things in life become a very life and death. It saps out all the energy that we would need to do things that move us forward, because it is a state of fight or flight. It's not a state of live and thrive. It is less concerned with opportunities and more concerned with threats and fighting and combat and defending oneself. So it makes it so that you find yourself constantly pushing to, oh my God, everything must be done this way, done that way. Your emergency reactions are engaged. It's like living as a fire marshal the whole time. You're looking for fires to put out. You're looking for guilty parties who are trying to sabotage you. Now, a simple act of a child not waking up on time is an act of sabotage and mutiny and treason. It becomes very much bigger than what it is. Mountains are made out of molehills. It taxes the mind and body resources and our relationships with others. It puts us firmly in combat mode. Every single thing becomes life and death, black and white. There are no nuances. There are no gray lines. There are no other colors. It's black and white, end of story. Interestingly, while we are fighting COVID and in a state of emergency, there are also opportunities that have come about as a direct result of this situation. But if we allow ourselves to stay in survival mode for an extended period of time, we will find ourselves unable to connect with loved ones, colleagues, and others, and constantly lashing out irrationally and making mountains out of molehills, unable to actually deal with the normal day-to-day things of life. We are due a tiny little bit of a song just now, and then we'll be right back with you. We are talking survival mode. The aim is to put you in a place where you can thrive, where you emerge out of this crisis even better than we went in. Let's dance. Born was sick, and I mean, he actually ended up passing away from that illness. But what had happened is that I found myself in a situation where I was unable to have proper conversations with other people. It felt very much like it's me against the world alone, that I'm abandoned and I have no one in the world and that kind of thing. And, you know, such that even my most important, most cherished relationships started to suffer. I found myself having really, really progressive, divergent discussions with several of the people in my life that I really, really care about. You know, my mom, I remember the one day she phoned me. I was at work and, you know, of course I was busy with stock take, but at the same time, I was really properly grumpy. I was running on a fuel that is very well known to a lot of us. It's called anger. And it was just like anything could trigger it, because I'm already in fight or flight mode. So anything that takes me away from what I perceive as this absolute important life and death mission that I am on is met with absolute fury. Oh, you know, how dare you interrupt me while I plan to take over the world, or some such sentiment. And I remember that being a wake-up call for me to say, is this how I want to relate to the people I care about in my life? Is this how I want it to be between me and the people I love in my life? And I made a decision that no, whatever it takes, I'm going to do what it takes to put myself in a place where I'm not so affected by the external situations that happen in my life that it becomes a do or die situation every single time. I'm telling you, this is the kind of thing, survival mode is the kind of thing that will help you, that will have you having a huge blowout with the guy at the garage because he gave you 3 sugars instead of 4, or white sugars instead of brown. You know, everything, I cannot stress this enough. In survival mode, everything becomes an emergency. You know, everything becomes a life and death situation. Your essential survival skills become engaged. Your essential survival hormones become engaged. Everything that tells your entire system that you must act quickly, ruthlessly, and right now becomes engaged. And that's not a way to live. It is dangerous to live like that. In relationships, it makes you put yourself in a me first mode where you become selfish. You become selfish and demanding, potentially abusive to those close to you, because we now feel like it's us and them. It's life and death. They don't understand. Nobody understands. Survival mode makes us ungrateful and demanding and selfish, and everyone is seen as opposition. At the very least, they're seen as competition. Collaboration goes out the window. It is very much impossible to engage in play and learning and just hang loose and be in that state that invites innovation and creativity when you are in survival mode. And yet, right now in our lives, it's also the time when we need our creativity the most, where we need to step into that place where we create out of our very souls the things that will move us forward and bring us a more fulfilled life, and bring us to a life where we don't make the same mistakes that have brought about things like COVID and unemployment and all of that kind of thing, that will make us reimagine a future that is different from what our past is, and make choices that are different from the choices we previously made. But survival mode puts a stop to the kind of thinking that would help us to actually get there. Survival mode will strip your hair of color and your face of a smile. It will also steal your joy and make you blind to things that produce gratitude. Because while you are in survival mode, you are not looking for things that you can say, I'm so grateful for. Those are the hardest words to say. Ne? You know, the state of mind that we need to be in to be creative is playful, is joyful, it is light, it is grateful, it is creative, it is where we feel safe to make a mistake. Survival mode tells you that every movement, every action you take is life or death. So you cannot make a mistake. If you were to dare make a mistake, it's a life and death situation. That is what it's like in survival mode, you know? And yet, like all states of mind, and this is very, very important to remember, survival mode is also a result of what we tell ourselves about the situation rather than a result of the actual situation itself. Survival mode can keep you in a state of anger as you feel your options are limited. And as we know, anger is a self-fueling fire that burns you. You are the kindling that keeps anger burning. The more you run on that fuel that is called anger, the more of you are losing. You are becoming a monster, this person who's unrecognizable even to yourself, because it morphs you and changes you into something that you are not. Sometimes we experience burnout because our efforts are fueled by a sense of potential loss. We are running in a state of fear. So scared we're going to lose this, so scared this is falling apart, so scared the sky is falling. I'm talking about the kind of sense that will wake you up in a panic in the morning and then tell you that there's not enough time in the whole week to do what you need to do to accomplish a state of peace. It will also fill your mind with so much panic that you cannot even write a proper to-do list or evaluate your goals versus your required actions effectively. Survival mode produces undue anxiety and panic attacks and puts you in a state where you cannot think straight. Makes our lives chaos, produces absolute chaos within. The most dangerous chaos in life is not the chaos that's out there. It's the chaos that is inside. You know, it makes our senses keen to attack. We're looking for who's attacking me, who's against me, and who's sabotaging me. And it floods our internal organs with cortisol. And you find that some of us are actually not even picking up weight because we're in lockdown and we're sitting at home and eating 30 times a day. It's just because we've got these constant knots in our stomach that are actually hormones that are telling us that it's scary out here, it's dangerous, everything is dangerous, you know? So I think we've defined it. We've very well defined survival mode. We have gone into great detail into it. It is something that creeps up on us because it starts off as us saying, let's do this for only this short period of time. We're only doing it for now, you know, we're only doing it for now. Yes, it's against our normal values. Ordinarily, we wouldn't do this, but now that we're in survival mode, it's do or die. So now we make decisions that are drastic and are things that are out of character because we are in a state that demands that we act in a way that is defensive and combative and really, really serious. We're in a way that says, if you don't do drastic things right this moment, you're gonna die. It's like the voice in your head is one that is constantly telling you that if you don't do this, if you don't make this decision, you're gonna die. Your survival is at stake. That's what I'm talking about. And when you've got a voice in your head that's telling you all the time that your survival is at stake, guess what? Your actions are not ones of building. No one is trying to build in survival mode. No one is trying to collaborate in survival mode. No one is trying to have better relationships in survival mode. There's negotiations, there's tactical conversations. There isn't conversations that are to bring comfort. There isn't as much listening. There isn't as much resources for actually building. So this is why it is dangerous. It is dangerous to stay in survival mode. But really importantly, if we can understand that it is not non-negotiable for us to be in survival mode. We've seen what's happening. We know now that, yes, we are in a situation where there is these pitfalls, there are these problems and everything. So instead of getting into full throttle survival mode, we can get into action mode where we are aware, we are choosing, we are deliberate, and we are doing things to help ourselves. But we are not escalating a mole into a mountain. Let's play another song. Then when we come back, we are going to talk about how to get out. Did you hear that song? It's like the lyrics were written specifically for this show. That is, it is Intingawe by, I can't see him, Sun Music. Yeah? Okay, that's fine. We'll Shazam it later and we'll link it to our video on Facebook on the Soul Dive group. We're talking about survival mode. It is so tempting to get into survival mode because, we're going through this situation, the new normal, and then you get into survival mode. But you don't have to. Just because a situation shows up in your life that invites you to take a position of failure does not mean you have to take a position of failure. Just because a situation shows up in life that invites you to take a position of defeat does not mean you take the position of defeat. You are still totally and fully in charge of how you choose to have that situation impact your life. It can go ahead and be present when you don't have a choice, but you have a choice of how you respond to it, of how you act, what it triggers in you. So we're now going to talk a little bit about how to get out of survival mode. We cannot make COVID poof go away. We cannot make all the other problems that come with it poof go away. But we can do certain things to position ourselves so that we are able to deal with the things that come at us in a much more powerful, effective, and proper, positive way to bring the best results for ourselves. So, number one, self-care is paramount. Prioritize yourself in a loving way. And I'm not saying it in that selfish way that says, but I gotta care for myself first. No, it is really in that way that looks at, are my basics of looking after myself properly in place? I know that I battled when this lockdown thing started with sleeping on time, sleeping enough, eating right, exercising, praying, meditating, keeping to the normal routines of self-care that sustain me when I am just living a normal, productive life. Those things become absolutely important when we have a crisis going on, because when we actually wake up for the crisis, we're a little bit late. Remember I said survival mode will wake you up in a panic in the morning and tell you that there's not enough time in the whole week, perhaps the whole month and the whole year, to do what you need to do to accomplish a state of peace, a state of progress, a state of fulfillment in your life. It will fill your mind with so much panic that you can't even write a proper to-do list or evaluate your goals versus your required actions. That is what survival mode will do to you. So what you do to counteract that is that you deliberately slow yourself down and take care of yourself. Make proper sleep a routine. Set the time. Tell yourself what time you're going to go to bed. Tell yourself, if I go to bed only by 11 o'clock, I will sleep until. And before you sleep, tell yourself what time you're going to wake up. That's how your subconscious mind runs your body and runs your life. You tell yourself, I'm going to sleep for X amount of time. And you create a sleep routine that allows you to have a good, restful sleep where you can actually get recharged. Set the time, get silence before bed. Maybe switch to softer lighting. It might even mean that you get off your electronics, to just make sure that you get a good quality of sleep. Don't only sleep when your main switch goes down and you're like, okay, I can't be awake anymore. Just can't be awake anymore. Main switch down, and then you sleep and then you wake up in a panic again. Don't allow yourself to fall into that. This is a deliberate action. It is so important. 99% of crazy is sleeplessness. Sit down and appreciate your food when you eat. Sit down and eat properly. No more this thing of eating all three of your meals over the kitchen sink, looking outside the window. No more of that. No more eating your meals while you are writing a proposal or working on something complicated. Maybe this is an opportunity to also just involve your loved ones and eat with your loved ones. If you are having a chat with a loved one while you are eating, that's fine. That's feeding your soul as well as your body at the same time. The whole point is to be present for it. And then take time to meditate or pray and contemplate. Meditate, pray, and contemplate are three different things, but I want to talk some more about contemplation. Contemplation is something that I learned in better detail recently when I attended Mind Power with Robin Banks. And it is about quietly taking a moment to actually look at the questions that require an answer the most in you. Remember that our mind is attached to a subconscious mind, which is attached to the universal mind. Our subconscious mind knows all the possible answers that are possible. But by contemplation, we communicate with it, we get in touch with it, where we ask the question and then keep quiet. Ask the question in your mind and don't rush to say, I know. Ask the question and then keep quiet and contemplate the question and maybe ask it in different ways. Don't rush to an answer. Don't rush to feeling despondent about it. Feel hopeful that your contemplation will bring about the answers that you are looking for. And then the important thing is to cultivate an environment of inner peace and cultivate an environment, a connection with your intuition, where you are able to hear the still small voice within you that nudges you and gives you guidance and tells you suggestions about how to achieve the things that you want to do. And then, of course, don't forget that answers also come to us in our dreams. So lie down, have a good night's sleep, and have good quality sleep that allows you to get in touch with your higher self, to get in touch with your intuition. Cultivate your intuition. When you sense something to do, do it. At the time that you sense it to do it, do it. And when you sense a turn left, turn left. When you sense a wait one moment, wait one moment. Cultivate inner peace and a connection, a deep connection with yourself. All right. And then here's a very important one for me. Wake up for your life. I cannot stress this enough. Don't wake up because you need to be somewhere in 20 minutes and you've just got enough time to take a shower and brush your teeth and get out the door. Don't wake up just in time to rush to something you have to do. Wake up for yourself. I have to quote Robin Sharma on this one. Robin Sharma suggests a 20-20-20 morning. He says, spend your first 20 minutes in intense exercise, sweating. I like to think of it as losing your breath somehow, whether that is walking, running, whatever it is. Because this activates a brain chemical that grows neural connections. Working out also releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation, and serotonin, which makes you feel happy. So the first 20 minutes. Then he says the next 20 minutes goes to contemplation. Review your plan, review your goals, contemplate what you are wanting to do, and get clarity. He says clarity precedes mastery, and this practice will deepen your focus throughout the day. The final 20 minutes is for growing and learning, whether that be reading or listening to podcasts or finding out more information about something that grows you, personal self-mastery, self-development, you. Priority in the first 90 minutes of the day is you, not everything else that you need to do. He says the way you start your day powerfully shapes how productively you live your life. Most importantly, connect with loved ones and people who help you see perspective. This may be a phone call or a video call. Keep up the relationships that feed your soul and sharpen your iron. Make a list of what is important and why it's important. Break it down to small steps that you can do. Evaluate your goals versus your actions and make an action plan that you can do on a daily basis. Extremely importantly, I know I've said very important, right? Now this is extremely important. Practice gratitude daily. Write down 3 things. And the reason we write things down is because thinking about it only, sometimes we don't complete those thoughts. But when we write it down, we actually complete the loop of action. So our gratitude moves us into action when we actually go ahead and write things down. Write 3 things that you're grateful for. If there are things that came about as a result of the pressure situation that you're in, it's even better, because then you rid the pressure situation of the power to destroy your joy and your mental strength. So you can turn it around like that. And finally, get help. If you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, how to reach out, what to do, speak to someone. Speak to a respected friend, a therapist, a counselor, a clergy member, someone who can listen to you and help you formulate the baby steps that you need to move out of survival mode into thrive mode. Get the help that you need. You are not an island. Courage is not about doing it all yourself. It's also about recognizing when you need those around you. Recognize that vulnerability strips your weakness of the power to blindside you. And yes, situations come at you and things happen in the world that we do not expect or ask for, but we always have a choice of how we show up in those situations. And some of the greatest adversities we face bring us unimaginable opportunities. Only if we decide to see them as such and allow ourselves to play, to collaborate and innovate, when we open ourselves to the understanding that it is not us against them. We are not alone in this world. In fact, we are all connected. We live and breathe as one. What affects you affects the next person. We are one unit in this universe. And what affects you is not a unique to you or specific to you. It's not a why me kind of situation. We need to recognize that maybe, just maybe, it may be your turn to feel the pinch, but you don't have to do it alone. You can get help. and turn it around. We don't have to wallow or get angry or isolate ourselves in a tower of survival mode or hide because we are in combat mode. We are going to emerge out of this crisis even better than we went in. It is our time to bloom, to blossom, to thrive, to grow, to be bright. This is The Soul Dive. My name is Lebo. I thank you so much for tuning in. I love, love, love getting to spend this time with you.